Are you with me? Are you with me?
There were people with guns and rifles surrounding the assembly. People that I knew for years with guns. And they weren't pointed outward, they were pointed inward. And so there was a sense of an armed encampment.
After the death of his wife, Vern Gosney arrived in Jonestown with his 4-year-old son.
I was very vulnerable. I decided I was going to go to Jonestown, and they were going to make me be a good socialist. Whatever I was lacking within myself would be instilled in me by living in Jonestown. I wanted to leave as soon as I got there. I was not free to leave, nor was anyone. I had confided in my roommate that I wanted to leave, and that was taking a huge, huge risk. He had at one time attempted to escape, and he was punished so severely that he was literally frightened out of his mind.
We're gonna die here, man. We're gonna die here.
On November 14th, 1978, U.S. Congressman Leo J. Ryan, along with his aide, Jackie Speer, flew to Guyana to investigate allegations of abuse within the temple. The delegation included relatives who were determined to see that their loved ones were free to come and go as they pleased. Jim Jones considered the group a direct threat, bent on his and the movement's destruction. 14 relatives, some former temple members who spoke out against Jones, accompanied Ryan. Members of the U.S. media covered the trip, including Don Harris from NBC, an American television network, and Tim Reiterman, a reporter on assignment for the San Francisco Examiner.
Jim Jones initially presented People's Temple as an extraordinary institution. And he was someone who was viewed as a little eccentric because he went around with bodyguards and he wore dark glasses, whether it was the sun was out or not.
Think he's got something to hide?
What do you think? You spoke with him?
Yeah, on the radio, once. Figures we're out to get him.
Congressman Ryan's trip was designed to find out whether the allegations from ex-members were true, that Jim Jones controlled the members through disciplinary beatings, forcing them to turn over their property and, in some cases, custody of their children, and whether he was threatening people with death if they would leave the organization.
Folks, we're about to land in Georgetown. It's been a long road for many of you. Your loved ones are down there. And I just want to let you know that we're going to do everything we can to make sure they're safe, they're happy, and they're being well looked after.
In other words, we still don't have an official invite.
And, let me tell you something right now. Not as your congressman, but as your friend. We're going into Jonestown. And if any of your family members want to come home, well, by God, we're going to bring them home.
Congressman, I just wanted to say, to thank you. This wouldn't have happened without you.
Really?
Oh, sure. She's going to be 22 in a week. You always hope yours are going to turn out all right.
Your ex?
Yeah. She was Linda when I knew her. Now she's Sharon. Jones made her do that. You know what? this other girl called Linda, didn't like her, so now no one can be called Linda.
Well, don't you worry about a thing, Sherwin. Everything's going to be just fine.
Sherwin Harris was attempting to visit his daughter Leanne, who was living in Jonestown.
People's Temple was something that started out apparently to be a good thing and just turned into a nightmare. In 1978, my daughter was 21 years old. My daughter Leanne was brought into the People's Temple by her mother, who was one of the initial members. I had what I considered a strange relationship with my daughter. And there was always a distance between us. There was always something strange going on. It was clearly, you know, a dangerous situation. At this point, we knew that guns had been transmitted there. We knew what their attitudes were. We knew that they were talking, that they were Marxist and revolutionaries and people that acted brutally towards their own members. So I don't think there was any illusions on any of our parts.
The promise of Guyana was cloaked in religious terms. It was the promised land. Land of milk and honey, the land where we're going to build a society that's really just. We worked from sunup to sundown. We ate rice 3 times a day. It's hard to really convey the remoteness of that place. There was no means of communication with the outside world. Oh, well, why didn't you leave? It's so horrible, it's so terrible. How could you put yourself in that position? When actually we were working for a cause that we believed in. It's like taking people to the limit and then moving that line, and then moving that line, and then moving that line, and wanting so desperately to believe in the dream and not seeing that the dream has become a nightmare.
A handful of temple members were permitted to form a basketball team. Amongst them was Jim Jones's 19-year-old son, Stephen. Days before the arrival of the Ryan delegation, Stephen and the basketball team left for Georgetown to play a series of games against the Guyanese national squad.
Dad was worried about the basketball team leaving and going into Georgetown. He knew the congressman was coming. I'm sure he feared that we might turn against him. And fortunately, Mom saw that happening, and Mom had really made this her cause to get us out of there.
You have in your hands the opportunity to make or break Jonestown, but you have to show a lot of character. A lot of character and grace. I've seen tremendous growth in you, Stephen. What you want to do is when they score a goal, you give a little clap and you run right back to your post. All right. You hear that?
Now remember, boys, when the other team scores, you just give them a little clap. Just like that, a little clap. Believe me, fellas, I had a little clap in my day.
Don't let him provoke you. He's trying to find a reason to keep you from going. Just be the better man.
Keep your eye on them.
On who? You don't trust them?
Anybody is capable of putting a bullet into your head. And if you see any of those relatives, those liars, you don't have anything to do with them. You understand?
You did well. Goodbye, my baby. You take care of yourself. I'll see you real soon.
I remember saying goodbye to her. I remember a long moment of just us looking at each other. I remember tears in her eyes and tears of my own. I remember each of us saying that we'll see you soon. Me believing it. Looking back, I don't think she did believe that would happen. I honestly think she thought she was getting us out of there before all hell broke loose.